إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له من يضلل فلا هادي له ونصلي ونسلم على خاتم الرسل وأفضل الخلق محمد بن الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم. All thanks and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one can lead astray. Whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leads astray, no one can guide. Salah and salam, peace and mercy and forgiveness on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on his family, on his companions, and on his followers to the day of judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to be one of those followers. We are continuing talking about Ramadan. Inshallah, it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday, inshallah. May Allah grant us that we live until we attend Ramadan. As I said last week, if I remember correctly, we'll talk today, inshallah, regarding ahkam, the rulings of Ramadan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the, we said last time that Muslim, there is a minimum level of knowledge every Muslim must acquire. And it becomes a sin if you do not acquire that level of knowledge. And inshallah, we're going to be talking or discussing around fasting in Ramadan. So let's start, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's start with who has to fast Ramadan? Simple thing. So first, what are the conditions of fasting Ramadan? First condition, of course, is a Muslim. It's not obligatory on a non-Muslim. In fact, it's not required on a non-Muslim. Non-Muslim, it's our duty to extend and give them the message of Islam and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah guides them as He guided us to Islam. And of course, being mature. Mature in Islam means you've hit puberty. So a young child, 7, 8, we like to train them. But it's not obligatory. So for instance, if you remember, how long ago was it when fasting in Ramadan was in June or July? It was maybe a few years ago. You remember how long it was, from 2 in the morning all the way until 9:30 in the evening. Very long. And mashallah, many children, boys and girls, fasted Ramadan. However, if one of them is unable to fast and breaks it, we do not make them feel guilty, because we are trying to make them love Ramadan, make them be happy in Ramadan. They want to sneak in a snack or a glass of water. We ignore it. That's fine. Whatever, doesn't matter. Until they grow, even if they know the right and wrong. In Islam, you have to hit the puberty for it to become obligatory upon you. And then there's a few other things, which will come in later on multiple times. A sick person, a person who is unable, and we'll talk about sickness. There's several areas of sickness when it's even forbidden for you to fast. If you fast, you get a sin. It's not only frowned upon, you get a sin if you fast. Our sisters, if a woman's in her monthly period, she's not allowed to fast. If she's just given birth, postnatal, again she doesn't fast. It's all so that because the body is like a sick person, their bodies are unable to take the rigors of fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Yuridu Allahu bikum al-yusra wa la yuridu bikum al-usra." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for us ease. He doesn't want things complicated or difficult for us. Right. The final thing is two other things. We're talking about Ramadan. Ramadan has to enter. I can't fast Ramadan before Ramadan. I have to fast Ramadan when Ramadan starts. How do we know Ramadan starts? Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "صوموا لرؤيته وافطروا لرؤيته لأن غبي عليكم عليكم الشهر فأتموا شعبان 30 أو كما قال الرسول." That means fast by seeing the crescent, and break your fast again by seeing the beginning of the month and the end of the month, when we see the sliver of a crescent. And the first day, it's like a hair's breadth width. It's very, but if you've got a clear sky, and you'll see it clearly, the reflection of the sun will be just about. That's the beginning of the month of Ramadan. What happens if it's cloudy and we can't see it? Then we continue Sha'ban, the month we're in, 30 days. 30 days come to, and that's it, we start fasting. And the Prophet's companions, when they were in Medina, or even in Mecca, it's too close. So you see it here, you see it there. They can tell each other easily, today's Ramadan. But after Allah blessed us and they expanded throughout the world, Egypt and Tunis and Algeria and all the way to India, it becomes difficult. They didn't have phones. So every companion in their nation, in wherever they're living in, that they look into the sky and note. That's what we should be doing. So we don't fast in accordance to our original countries we came from. So if I came from Egypt or Pakistan or wherever, they'll fast whenever they see the hilal. And it becomes an issue when we're fasting on a Tuesday and the sky's clear and you can clearly see the hilal in the sky, and another brother, and no, I'm going to fast 2 days later on a Friday. It's like, brother, you can, the sky's, there's cloudy, I understand. But so for us, the easiest way is see your brothers around you, the mosques around you, the city that you're in, and fast with the rest of the brothers. That makes it a bit more better. Intention. You start Ramadan with an intention you're going to fast. You don't have to say anything. The will, doing sport itself is an intention that you're going to do Ramadan. So what happens if you don't have to do it every night? Some scholars said you have to do it every night, but in ease, you don't have to do that unless you break fast. A brother goes to has an operation or becomes sick and he's unable to fast or travels, whatever. Then he's broken his fast for a day or for 2 days or 3 days or whatever it is broken. Now, when he resumes his fast, he resumes the intention. All right. What does Allah like to see us do? Now we know what obligates us to fast, how we can see how we can make our fast meaningful, how it actually becomes something that we wanted to fast. So we call this the mustahabbat, something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes to see us do in Ramadan. So the first thing is suhoor. Suhoor, is like a meal that you have before the Fajr. There's no particular time. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes before the Fajr. It doesn't have to be 2 hours before the Fajr. As long as you know the Fajr is, let's say the Fajr is 5 o'clock. So 4 o'clock, 4:30, 4:45 if you want to, have a quick bite. Something to give you the strength to continue fasting. Sayyidina Muhammad says, "Tasakharu فَإِنَّ فِي السُّكُورِ barakah." That means just have some food before you fast because there's blessing in it. Now, as the Prophet's sunnah to keep it the suhoor as late as you possibly can. Of course, if you've got work and you're asleep, fine. If you can't wake up, you do suhoor before you sleep. Keep it as late as you can, as much as possible. The opposite is when you break your fast. When you break your fast, you don't wait. I'm going to pray for a sunnah. No. You break fast first. Drink water, have dates, have a yogurt, whatever you want to have. Break your fast first, then do the prayer, do the Maghrib prayer. I'm not talking about Aisha, talking about the Maghrib. You break your fast, then you do the Maghrib prayer. That's why you always find in most large mosques, may Allah grant us a mosque, they'll have, during the Maghrib in Ramadan, they'll have like little cups of whatever, water, juice, milk, bit of food, just to break your fast and then do dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, dua. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that every person that fasts has a dua that is answered. We don't know when. People will target times. It could be any time. It could be just before the Fajr. It could be just when you're breaking your fast. In fact, it could be throughout the whole day. We don't know. So ask Allah continuously during your fast. Ask Him forgiveness continuously during your fast. If you're in need, ask Him continuously during the fast. The final thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it flicks with what we're going to talk about just shortly about what's frowned upon in fasting, which is manners. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He's obligated Ramadan upon us. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Maybe you reach the level of taqwa, the fear of Allah, where your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reflected in your actions. You're honest, you've got integrity, you don't lie, you don't backbite, you don't insult, you don't say bad words. All these things, not doing them consciously, you get a reward for it. It's not a matter of, I'm going to do a good deed. In fact, stopping doing a bad deed in its own right is a good deed, and you get a reward for that. All right. So let's talk about what's forbidden in Ramadan. The first thing is it's forbidden to fast a day or two before Ramadan. So let's say Ramadan roughly is going to be Wednesday. Most calendars say it's going to be Wednesday, inshallah. So Tuesday and Monday, don't fast. Rasulullah forbade us and said to us, أَلَّا تَصُومُوا قَبْلَهُ بِيَوْمٍ أَوْ يَوْمَيْن. Do not fast for Ramadan for the day or 2 days. You're not being pious by doing that. Okay. And then the standard things that break your fast. Intentionally eating or fasting or having a relationship with your wife or intentionally vomiting. All these things break your fast. Another thing is wet cupping, hijama. In fact, Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ says that whoever performs hijama during fast, not the person that was performed upon, but the person who does it as well, it breaks his fast as well. Al-hajim wal-mahjum, both of them. During the morning of Ramadan, you do not do hijama. You can donate blood as long as it doesn't impact your health. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about sickness, since we say what's forbidden. When a Muslim is sick, Allah's given you a gift. Just like when you're traveling, Allah's giving you a gift to not fast. So we'll talk a bit about sickness. There's 3 scenarios. There's a scenario where the sickness doesn't impact you at all. I've broken my arm. I've broken my leg. I've got a bit of a sniffly nose or something. Now, you cannot break your fast. You continue fasting. It's not impacting your fast. You continue fasting. The other one is that the sickness becomes difficult, or if you're sick and it's difficult for you to fast, you can fast, but it's difficult on you to fast, then it's preferred that you do not fast. The first one, you fast just like anyone else. You know, I bumped my toe in the door or something and it bled. Now, you don't break a fast, but that you carry on fasting. But if you're sick, if you've genuinely got like a cold or a flu and you've got a fever, no, it's best not to fast. You get more rewards by not fasting. The third scenario, when it has a harm on your body, a brother has got a problem with his kidney or has got diabetes or something that if he fasts, it will harm his body, guaranteed will harm his body. He in fact gets a sin if he fasts. It's forbidden for him to fast. وإن شاء الله we'll continue in the next topic إن شاء الله. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness. May Allah forgive you and I. استغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب استغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب استغفر الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة وسلاما على عبده الذي اصطفى. And we always thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his blessings. And we always raise Salat and Salam for Prophet Muhammad. All right, so these are the 3 scenarios for someone who is sick. What about traveling? Same thing. For someone who's traveling, he's got 3 scenarios. Now, if it makes no difference to you at all, you're traveling, it won't impact you that much, and fasting or not fasting won't impact you, you can fast, you won't get a sin for that. It is better that you accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's gift. Sayyidina Muhammad SAW talks about the prayer when you're traveling, you pray instead of the four, you pray two, and you can in fact combine. So Dhuhr and Asr, you can pray them in the Dhuhr time, two and two, or you can pray them in the Asr time, two and two. The same thing with the Maghrib. You don't you don't compress the Maghrib; it's still three, but you can pray the Maghrib and the Isha in the Maghrib time, three and two. You can pray the Maghrib and the Isha in the Isha time, three and two. That's when you're traveling. And the definition of travel, scholars had debated about that one. There is nothing authentic from Sayyidina Muhammad with a certain mileage. Sayyidina Muhammad did not say if you're 50 miles away, then he didn't say that. And most scholars say if you, whatever's known as a travel, going, for instance, from here to London, that's a travel. Then you can combine in that time. Whatever's known with the people. It's best for you. Sayyidina Muhammad says that this is a gift Allah has gifted you. Accept Allah's gift. So the same thing with fasting. If you're traveling and Ramadan happens, break your fast. You'll fast again, and when you fast again, it's as if you're fasting in Ramadan. You haven't lost the reward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not lost the reward. The second scenario is if it does impact you, not heavily, but you struggle. I'm working on the struggles. I struggle with that. Then definitely you shouldn't fast. Another sin that's frowned upon. It's makruh, or we call makruh, frowned upon. The third scenario, very similar to illness. Someone who's weak, got anemia or something, or whenever or vertigo, whenever he travels, he has to drink and eat. In fact, if he fasts, he gets a sin. SubhanAllah. This is Allah's blessing to us. The only religion where if you actually try and force yourself to do the act of worship, you get a sin. And this comes to the core of the meaning of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. The true meaning of a Muslim is to submit yourself, your will to Allah. You don't worship in accordance to your desires or in accordance to what is logical to you. The act of worship is an act of submission to Allah. Allah, how do you want me to pray? Two it is. Three, fine. Three. Four, then four. At noontime, I'll pray at noontime. In the Fajr time, before dawn by an hour and a half, then I'll pray then. At night, I'll pray. It's whatever Allah directs us, we obey and follow. We don't. Everything else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets us think about and do what makes us better. When it comes to acts of worship, we completely submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Final one is the person that works heavily. So there's two scenarios of people that work. And I'm going to make it a bit drastic a bit. Someone playing football and someone who's a builder or who does some really heavy work. Now, if your work impacts your health, so you're working in a mine or working in the sun, the scorching sun, and you cannot leave your work, can't take time off, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you permission to break a fast. If you're playing football or something, I can't fast because I'm playing football. I'm sorry, don't play football. Fast. That's more important than playing. The other examples of those that are allowed to break their fast are again similar to what we said earlier on. The sister that's breastfeeding, if it's going to impact her strength for her baby, of course you shouldn't fast. If she's just given birth, then nope, for I think 40 days she doesn't fast at all, even if it's the whole Ramadan, doesn't matter. And finally, if she's in her monthly period, then again she doesn't fast. Now, versus prayer, she will have to repeat the fasting. So whatever part in Ramadan she doesn't fast, after Ramadan she will fast. The other two exceptions Allah gave us for fasting is soldiers or people that are doing work to save other people's life. Like, for instance, a soldier in battle. a Muslim fighting in battle, or a policeman who's outside and working, or a firefighter who's fighting in a fire and sometimes he might need to hydrate for whatever reason. If you're in that condition, the scholars have given you permission to fast. Um, three final things we'll talk about in Ramadan, so we can complete the picture, and we'll complete for this. The first one is Zakat al-Fitr. I think it's called Fitrali or something like that. It's similar. So it's an obligatory charity that you have to pay, different from the zakah that we normally pay every year. You just pay 2.5%, depending, 2.5% on any money you're not investing, not working with. So you've got a pile of cash under the carpet, 2.5% every year. You pay for that. If you're investing or working with it or trading with it, then you don't pay anything on that, no matter how much it is. Except in Ramadan. In Ramadan, you pay a set amount on every person in your household, even if it's a baby. Doesn't matter. You're obligated to pay on that. You give it to the poor. I think this year it's about £5 thereabouts. So there are many, I think many mosques, Aisha mosques or other mosques that collect it. There's online charities that accept it and give it to the poor. So um, do make sure that you pay that. And you can't pay before Ramadan, so wait until Ramadan starts. And you must pay it before we do Salat al-Eid, the pay of the Eid. You must have paid that. The other two final things is Ramadan is a month of Quran. It's the month where we should be pondering the Quran, understanding living the Quran, making our lives molded by the Quran, and the Taraweeh, which is part of Qiyam al-Layl. I believe we've got now an avenue in Sindoshan, just in front of the Winnish Park over here, that will be doing Taraweeh. I think we put it into the group. If you want to attend, then that's good. But regardless of where you want to pay Taraweeh, it is a chance for you to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to listen to the Quran. A whole juz is been recited every night. So by the end of Ramadan, you've completed, read all of the Quran. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله